Johnny Cotto was the winner of the debut season of Making the Cut and received the $1 million grand prize. Congratulations for that. But first off, what was it like standing alongside Esther as the judges were very slowly announcing their verdicts one by one?
I mean, standing next to Esther in the very final judgment was the most, I don't know, gut-wrenching moment of my life. I mean, the thing is, I love Esther, and I don't want her to not win. I just want myself to win. So it was all time stopped, and we just kind of waited and waited. It felt like it was the longest decision ever, but wow, it was thrilling. It was so thrilling when they announced that I won.
And that's something that I really liked about all the designers this season was the camaraderie across all of them, and how none of you ever threw each other under the bus when you were trying to convince the judges why you deserve to be there. It was never really about why they don't. It was always about supporting each other but competing to win yourselves, and that really came through in the finale.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we were all supporting each other because the show is looking for the leader of the next big global brand. I mean, to be a global brand, I think that your professionalism has to be fantastic and precise and on point. And it's not just some contest where we're on TV like fighting for $1 million and being shady. We know that once that contest is over, that person, that the winning designer, has to go on to launch a brand, and the world needs to respect them, and their peers need to respect them. So being professional and being supportive was totally most important.
And of course, as part of this competition, because it's about business and about the art of fashion, you had to give that pitch to the president of Amazon Fashion. And as someone with myself a fear of public speaking, like that made me more nervous than anything throughout the episode, because I was like, I was feeling vicarious anxiety, watching it through my eyes. How was that going into that? You seemed confident.
It was the most difficult challenge in the entire season. I mean, I come off as a confident person, but really it's just very practiced anxiety of like controlling my anxiety and projecting loudly. I was shaking in my boots, but as soon as I walked in the room, Christine Bouchamp, she had such a warm energy. It was really exciting. You could see the whole Manhattan skyline, and I was like, wow, this is one of the biggest opportunities in my career. I cannot mess this up. And that pressure was the perfect pressure to encourage me to stand up and deliver.
And it was you're kind of like the comeback kid of the season a couple times, because you got a really tough critique in Haute Couture, and then you came back to get a high score and then a win. And then in Brand Evolution, it was another close call, and then you won the pop-up shop, and then you won the whole competition. Like, did that the pop-up or did the Brand Evolution kind of challenge light that fire under you that really helped you with those last two assignments, the pop-up shop and the total collection?
After the Brand Evolution judgment, I kind of had my tail between my legs a little bit. I was a little like, I knew I just inched in. I knew that the judgment was so close between Megan and myself, and we both deserved it. I was thrilled that I got the opportunity to go to the finale, but I was a little timid, and as I was working on my collection the first few days, I was like, oh, Esther and Sandra are so good. How can I compete? And I was like, you know what, Coda? You have made it this far for a reason. And every time you've gotten like kicked down, or you're questioning yourself, you get back up. And it's not about how you stumble, it's how you get back up. And this fire lit in me. So for the next 30 days, as I'm making my collection, and then when I arrived to New York, I just have this confidence in me that's like, you made it this far for a reason. Now make it to the end.
Now, after that Brand Evolution challenge, you and Xander and Esther had a month to go back and make your huge collections. So it's sort of a breather because you have a month, but it's not a breather because you have to make 12 to 14 looks. So was that more fast-paced or more of a roller coaster than the individual assignments were, or did it feel like, okay, you can sort of take your own time, manage your own time the way that you felt?
When they told us, oh, you have 30 days to make this, I thought, oh, finally, I can approach it like a normal designer. But then I started doing the math and how many looks we had to make. And I was like, oh, we can't slow down for a second. The pace of this show, which has been nonstop, it has to remain for the next 30 days. The only way we'll get to the finish line is by not slowing down for a second. So we all flew back home. Everyone's jet lagged. I'm sketching on the plane. I'm laying out my first logo on the plane. It's like, just get to work. Don't let yourself fall back into old habits or old comforts, and just soldier forward.
And the final assignment, that collection, that pop-up shop, they were not just you kind of showcasing your brand. It was sort of you launching your brand, because you were sort of transitioning from skin graft to your namesake. What were the emotions coming into it, thinking this is not just me trying to continue a thing or grow a thing. It's you really kind of launching yourself in a different way.
I've been timid to launch a namesake brand my whole entire career. And what a perfect time. It was the perfect storm. And I knew that runway show that I was making was going to be the best runway show I've ever made in my life, or that was the pressure I put on myself. I feel like that's what happened. And when I walked in the first day, as they were setting up the pop-up shops, and I saw my name, I'm getting emotional, up there in the black letters on these cement walls, and all the fixtures are there. And I just started crying. I was like, wow, you really did it. And you're so proud of what you've made. What an incredible time in your life. So I'm so happy that I got to launch my namesake brand on worldwide television. It was like a huge opportunity.
And then there's a really wonderful moment during the fashion show where, after you give your introductions, you sort of embrace Tim Gunn in that very sweet way. That was that relief? Was that more anticipation? What was going on in your head then?
Tim Gunn, he follows us from day one. It's like the first day you walked into the workroom, I was like, oh my God, it's the Tim Gunn from television. It's like he starts off as this kind of celebrity that we all look up to, and then he becomes your mentor, and then he becomes your friend, and he's seen you during your weak moments, and he's seen you triumph. And so I felt a real closeness to him by the end, something I did not anticipate. But at the end, I just felt I knew he wanted all of us to succeed, and I knew he would be happy with any of us winning. But he was kind of like, no one else in the world witnessed our journey like Tim did. So no one else could sympathize with everything we'd been through like Tim did. So it felt really great to see him. I was so excited for him to see my show.
Did you have a favorite look from your final collection, or a favorite piece, or is that kind of like choosing your favorite child?
I pushed myself in the final challenge, just like all the challenges, to break out of my design aesthetic that I always do, and also to move beyond my skill level. And one thing that I took on in 30 days, I watched all these YouTube videos on graphic design. And so one of my favorite pieces is this leopard trench coat with it's pony hair leopard, and then it's wool. And I did the whole graphic design, making the leopard print bigger and bigger in a gradient pattern. And then at the bottom it says Coda. And I just felt like, they were dogging me for skin go so much that when that model turns the corner and Naomi sees Coda printed on that beautiful trench, it's just going to be like, boom, gotcha.
You and Esther have are very different designers, but you both seemed like you both came into the show with this very edgy, dark color, palette, sort of style, and so you even noticed during your pop-up shops that your pop-up shops had kind of similar aesthetics. What did you think when you realized that you two were the final two, and that you would be compared so minutely to her and sort of standing out from her?
Well, from day one, I knew she'd be in the finale, and she was also my favorite designer. So I was thrilled to be in her company. I was so thrilled to be down to her and I in the finale. And I also thought, what fashion competition has ever had two like dark, edgy designers in the very finale? Like, it was so kind of unexpected. And it was so thrilling. But I always knew she would be my greatest competition. And her stuff compares to mine almost the most with this like dark aesthetic. So I knew it would be, their final judgment would be splitting hairs. How did one of us just barely inch over the other one for the win?
And early on in the season, I sort of looked at the judging and was like, oh, is this too harsh? Should they be a little bit warmer, more supportive? But then I see the finale and how things grow, and it must have been extra special for, like, for instance, Naomi Campbell to start with in haute couture, getting that kind of critique from her, and then having it go to her telling you how proud she is of you. Did that make it more special how tough the judges were when it came towards the end and sort of the payoff, and they believed in you that much?
100%. I think the tough love that came from the judges, particularly Naomi, it felt harsh at first, but they just want you to do your best. They just want to encourage you to, like, wake up, do better. We know you can do better. They're giving tough love because they believe in us. So when I transitioned from that to her finally saying, Johnny, I'm proud of you in episode 4, I was like, oh, and then to make it to the finale, it's like tough love from a parent. You just want their love and appreciation so much that for her to compliment or to celebrate my pop-up store, for her to try on the pieces in the store and giggle and smile and have fun with Heidi, it was like, it just made my whole entire year. I was like, wow, this really came full circle. And it was really, I wasn't designing for the world. I was designing for Naomi and Heidi and those judges and the people who'd given me such strong guidance. And I wanted to show them my growth.
And we saw during the season that it was difficult for you to be opening this store while of your own while you were on the show. So what was it like, sort of taking the victory back to the store that sort of you were relaunching yourself in that way?
Yeah, well, one, not being present for the opening of Coda was devastating for myself, but that episode I won. And it was this sweet moment where I was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna miss the opening of my store, I better come home with a victory. And then for it to make it all the way to the finale. And then I do get a chance to do a pop-up, which I didn't know before. They just announced it after episode 8 that would be our challenge. I was like, yes, I missed my store opening, but now I get an opportunity to do my own. And this is where I excel. I've been doing pop-ups in retail shops for 10 years, and I feel really strong in it. And I'm like, this is my challenge. This is my challenge.
And since you won, what is the mentorship with Amazon been like? Has that been a thing that's ongoing, or is that not starting yet, or what has that been like?
Yeah. The mentorship with Amazon started kind of directly after the finale. It's weekly check-ins with different parts of their team, everything from social media to how we can prepare the collection to go onto the Amazon format, giving us, I can run styles by them, I can run my ideas by them, and they say, yes, this feels good, oh, you should think bigger, or hey, remember you really talked about sustainability, and you really talked about having a wider size range. Don't forget those key points to your brand ethos when you make your collection. So they just turned into like close mentoring friends that we could constantly check in with each other weekly to guide us to launch this collection.
Well, I want to congratulate you again on your win of making the cut. And I must say that I was selfishly slightly rooting for you a little bit more because you make more menswear. So, so thank you for that. And I look forward to seeing and hearing more from you in the fashion world from here on out.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for joining me.